Hello, everyone, and welcome back to our banter, where we talk about the story Cicada narrated for the week, what parts we like, and what we didn't like about it. This week, Cicada is going to be coming at us with a fun hay bale fact.
Oh yeah, not an animal fact this week. I've got a hay bale fact for everybody. Hay bales can weigh anywhere from 40 to 1,500 pounds, and it's pretty safe to assume that a farm the size of what we talked about in this story, you'd probably have about 200 to 300 pound square bales.
And, for those of you who, for some reason, skip the story and just going straight to the banner, you'll come to realize that this farmer is an absolute Chad. I mean, super jacked. But besides of the farmer, let's get into this story, and I'm gonna start us off talking about hay bales. I think it is a really unique way to kind of show that the monster's there. I really enjoy the idea of this farmer setting out these heavy ass bales and them just moving a couple 100 feet every day.
Yeah, and I mean, even like before the monster's revealed, something's picking him up and moving him, and to surround a whole farm with hay bales with 50 to 100 spacings between each bale, and if it's doing that every night, it's got to be moving 300 pounds, 200 feet, and doing that what 100 times a night. That's insanity. That thing's got to be yoked.
Oh yeah, super ripped. And like I kind of like how the farmer sat out on his porch because you figure if it's people doing it like he originally assumed, you'd have to hear like a tractor, some sort of machinery in the middle of the night, and no way it's quiet. Using the hydraulics, moving this, and there'd be tire tracks too. So it's kind of a mystery. Like, okay, when I first read it, I assumed that it was gonna be a like kind of, I don't know, giant worm, something moving the ground. But I really do like how it's just this yoked monster who comes and moves them every night.
Yeah, I mean, I also I like how there's no background to the monster. There's no real reason why it's doing this. It just kind of showed up one day and was like, "Yeah, you're you're my pet now. You're my prisoner. You live here."
You're my
Ye-
friend now. We're gonna have soft tacos later
Literally, it
tonight.
just shows up and just starts moving the bales and makes like a perimeter, and it's like, all right, you go outside of this, you die. Somebody comes into this, they die. Womp womp.
Do you think that if he goes outside of it, he will die? That I don't really know. I kind of feel like kind of our intro really did it. Our outro. I would like to imagine this monster comes sprinting out of the woods, picks up the guy, and places him on his porch.
Yeah, like almost comically comes sprinting out of the woods, like roaring at him, grabs him by the collar, looks at him, hauls him back to the porch, puts him down, and like pats him on the head and just walks away.
Yeah, now that I know it's supposed to be a scary story. I do think, in some ways, while it is comedic, that would be more terrifying than knowing that I would die if I cross this border. Just 'cause now you don't even have the choice of trying to escape. Like, this thing is keeping you alive on purpose.
Yeah, as I described it, I was chuckling to myself as I was like, yeah, that makes the story not scary at all. And then I really thought about it because I mean it does show its power, and it shows that nobody else is allowed to come in. It rips a car apart and then crushes a man to death for no other reason what appears to be the love of the game. I mean it could have let him in and then been like, now I have two people. Yippee.
Yippee! I Now that we're talking about this whole road situation, is there just a road running through the middle of this guy's farm field? How is there two hay bale? How's there a hay bale on the other side of the road?
I I personally kind of auto defaulted that it was his driveway, but then I don't really know why he didn't know who was coming up his driveway. It made more sense that he was more a clueless farmer, or maybe he didn't have a phone and just didn't recognize the car, and it was he went and checked it out later, and turns out it was like his grandson or something coming to visit him and help out on the farm.
Okay. You know what? I get it. I see this. A neighbor asking for a cup of flour or something, and they just happen to get mauled to death by by this monster.
Hey neighbor, can I get a? Oh my God, no!
Oh, poor fella. He had no idea what he was going into. Like, I wonder why his house is circled by hay bales. Whatever, he's kind of weird. Instantly just gets clapped out by this Wendigo.
do you do you think that if guy in the car would have had enough urgency in his existence to put it in reverse and drive back out of the hay bales, do you think it would have stopped and just stared at him like, yeah, yeah, you stay on your side and I'll stay on my side?
I honestly, I think so because like the this monster lets our narrator protagonist see him and doesn't lash out. I don't think he's worried about like concealing himself. I think it's more of a uh this land is my land, that land is your land. He's using his rights. I'm assuming this is in America, and I hope it's a stand your ground state. Because this monster, I don't think would be able to. He's doing everything right.
Yeah, I guess I would agree with your main point there. Some of it got away from you a little bit, I would say. Um, but on a different topic, why why is it when he moves the hay bales back, it just murders every single horse that he has? Why do that? That just seems so unnecessary to me.
As you said earlier, these hay bales could weigh anywhere from like 40 to 2,000 pounds. I think, that's the monster's hard work, and he got upset that someone went and undid it. Um, on a real, I guess, note about it, I have I really don't know. I feel like if it's trying to prove a point, I guess that is a pretty good point to have, but like just taking their heads and not even eating them just kind of seems like the monster did it because it could.
Yeah, I mean that's just kind of what I thought was, I mean if you killed like one horse and then left it outside or something like that, that would kind of make sense to me. But it doesn't make a whole lot of sense that it killed every single horse that this guy had.
Ooh, okay. Maybe. This is a stretch, but I'm assuming this farmer's feeding his horse hay, and the farmer moves it back closer to his house for, I imagine, convenience for feeding his horses. And if this monster is viewing this guy as a pet, and he's moving the boundary, because of the horses, like if we think of it on a more simple level, like the farmer's giving the horses hay. If I get rid of the horses, he will leave the hay alone, like my boundary for him.
Yeah, I mean I guess that kind of makes sense.
Eh, kind of a stretch.
I would definitely agree that it's very much a stretch, and I don't think it would do that. I think it was just mad that it moved the boundaries and tried to, you know, deter him from doing that again.
All right, I'll agree with you there. I've I guess a little, not plot hole, but something that really stuck out to me in this story is, does this farmer not have a car, a tractor, any vehicle?
No, he's just I maybe his horses like he had horse-drawn things, like a horse-drawn thresher and a horse-drawn baler.
Holy. Okay, so I like this. I've got a mental image. It is just a lone Amish dude who's getting terrorized by an eldritch being. Okay, and that's why I didn't call the cops. I mean, okay, if I was a farmer and, I come out and all of my horses' heads are decapitated, I'm calling the cops. That's the first thing I'm doing. I don't think I would try to big dog it sit out on the porch with a pot of coffee and a shotgun.
Yeah, I also. Why doesn't he shoot it?
I mean, would you really? I don't think I'd shoot it either. It's something I've never seen before. It's lifting up this mass amount of weight, even though it looks frail. I wouldn't want to piss it off.
Yeah, that makes sense to me. I was just kind of processing that in my head. I mean, I feel like shoot it, see what happens. Maybe it gets mad and it runs to your door and then you run inside. Maybe it comes to the door and it kills you. Either way, it seems like it's probably going to kill you anyway.
That's the thing. It doesn't show any aggression towards him. Like when he's sitting out there at night, the protagonist isn't sure if the monster saw him. I'm sure it did. Um, because as we find out later on, it's kind of keeping him in here as a pet. I think, it, you know, the farmer wants to live, and he made the best call of just let it be. It sounded like he was
Yeah,
willing to engage if it was gonna be a like a group of people, because I mean, he understands people. He doesn't understand whatever this thing is.
I can agree with that. Yeah, I suppose. And I mean, if it's not aggressive towards you and it's just moving your hay bales, I'd probably also sit there and just stare at it because I mean, at that point he doesn't know what it's doing. So if it's just moving my hay bales, I'm just going to watch it and be like, "What the heck is going on here? What are you doing? Stop that."
Come on, man. I don't have a tractor or anything. It took forever for me to pull those things out there, especially after you killed all my horses.
Poor guy.
Poor guy, he must be jacked. I think he could take the monster if he really wanted to.
He probably had to like pick him up one at a time and kind of do that like when you're holding a really big hay bale and it's a little bit too heavy for you, so you gotta like waddle back and forth as it's leaned up against your knees
Okay, yes.
versus the monsters two one on each shoulder wandering around like he's Donkey Kong with some barrels.
I like that image, yeah. But it only took him an hour. So either way, Farmer's hustling. Even if he is like half carrying him, dragging him at his knees, still, an hour is pretty impressive.
I would agree. He's definitely a stronger man, and maybe they are smaller bales, and they're only about 100 pounds each. And maybe the farmer's still pretty yoked because he's dragging them, but maybe the monster's not as strong as we think.
And all you did was just confirm that the farmer's a big dog.
That's no. The second I said it, I realized it was a blatant lie. The monster rips a car in half.
Yeah, the okay. Besides the car in half, we've got Giga Chad Farmer and Weak Beta Monster.
You know, I believe that we could power scale the farmer and the monster all day. Um, and honestly, that's kind of one of the things that I liked about this story was that it left it all open for interpretation. It was pretty vague.
Yeah, no, it definitely, while it was shorter, it left a lot of room for the imagination, and I really appreciate that. It isn't like cut and dry, like we know the answer. We really don't even know if the monster is keeping him as a pet. It could just be like keeping him as bait, maybe assuming he's going to try to get help, call more people over, and maybe he's eating these people who are trying to save him, which would still be, I guess, a pet, but more using him as bait.
Yeah, like a forced symbiotic relationship. It doesn't kill him. He provides it with more things to eat.
I wonder if you were in this situation and like you got to the understanding of like this is a symbiotic relationship, would would you participate in it? Would you continue to reach out to people, call the cops, bring as many people as you can, or would you refuse?
I I don't really know. Um I think if I ran and it picked me up and put me back, and then after a while, like if it got angry and started like ripping things apart, maybe, but I don't think I could do it for very long.
That's that's fair. I mean, that's the natural people want to live. It's natural for you to participate it a little bit. Um I more or less same boat. I think I could do it maybe 3 times, bring 3 different people into it and then be like it's not worth it. Because sooner or later it's going to you're there. It doesn't matter if you want to leave to go do other things. Is that really a life?
Yeah, I mean, at some point, you're really just not living. You're just essentially a food source for this thing. Like, you yourself are not the food source, but you are a food source for it.
I totally agree with you there, Cicada. Is there anything else you would like to touch upon the story, or do you want to hop into this rating?
Yeah, I think that we covered pretty much everything. You know, we even got a little silly with it, and I enjoyed it, but I do believe that we should get into our ratings.
I'm gonna start us off with originally I was thinking more in like the 5 to 6 range, but as my imagination, roamed free, I'm gonna give it a 7. It was a nice short story, simple. The ending was short and sweet. It didn't answer any questions. I think a 7 out of 10 is fair. And the farmer is definitely a 10 out of 10 character.
Yeah, I can totally get behind that. I think I am gonna stick with what I had, and I'm gonna give it a 6 out of 10. A little bit better than average, but it is definitely the definition of like a clear cut short horror story. I mean, it was good, cut to the chase, had a nice build up, and a really good ending that kind of left it open to the reader or the narrator, and I very much enjoyed that.
All right. Well, thank you all for listening to this week's story. It is time to bar those barn doors. We will see you all next week.
Have a good night, everyone.
Good night.